The Gray. For those of you who are just wanting to see how my opinion on this movie is, here's a quick opinion. I did like the movie, and I do recommend seeing it. If you would like to stick around for some of the reasons I'd like to see it, there may be spoilers inside, but I'll try not to give too much away. It's all in good fun at the end of the day. So here we go. The first thing I got to say is going to talk about the trailer. The trailer of this film is very misleading. It's kind of like The Village in a sense, but I kind of went into this thinking a little different. I didn't go into this expecting, Liam Neeson doing the Taken role on some wolves, but I did go into this expecting a survival movie that's centered around wolves. And the only reason I did that is because typically I watch a lot of survival shows and I love nature shows, and you kind of learn how wolves hunt in packs. And you watch enough National Geographic, you know that a wolf is not an animal that's going to just straight up bum rush you the entire time. It's methodical, it stalks you, and it gets you when you're down, kind of like the Velociraptor in Jurassic Park. But people might go into this movie expecting that whole Michael Bay, bang, 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 punch wolf right in the teeth kind of movie, and this is not it. It's nowhere close to what this is. This is a movie that's more about the human spirit and faith than it is about punching wolves in the teeth. And with that set up, let's go and get into a little bit further into detail. As I stated before, this film is not an action-packed film, but it's more about a test of the human spirit. The I will not back down mentality that the human beings can actually possess. And you kind of see this in everybody. You see characters that are kind of, iffy and on the edge really come into their own. And it has a lot of good character development. That is something that's a lost art in films nowadays, because you actually start learning and feeling for the characters themselves and you get to know them. And when they actually do get the curtain call, there's a kind of like sadness that goes over you when it happens, because it's just done so subtly and it kind of hints on itself over and over again. And the movie always gives you this feeling, this grasp of that they might be rescued in some way, such as they find trees that have been cut down by loggers. They have a watch that sends a beacon up 40,000 feet, and all this. They find a river. Rivers usually lead to civilization. And all this compiled to get just right into things, and you're going with them like, please survive, while they're getting stalked by this massive wolf pack. I mean, these gray wolves are huge. They're probably like 200 pounds, and that is one of the downsides, in my opinion, of the movie, is the size of these wolves. They're not your run-of-the-mill wolves. They're like 250-pound CGI badasses. And the CGI kind of takes away from it. And I feel like mostly that if they wouldn't have used so much CGI or showed the wolves as much, I think they would have been creepier. You don't really get to see the alpha wolf to the very end of the movie, but he doesn't look too much different than all the other ones. And they have that kind of crappy wolf mentality. Like, you can actually tell it's like a computer-generated wolf. It's not as bad as like the Sci-Fi Channel wolves, but you could tell it's like, alright, that's a creepy-ass wolf. I mean, if they would have had just like long shots of wolves staring and things like that, or even, it would have been much more, in my book, it'd been much more thrilling. Or maybe like bulk a wolf up with like, fake fur and stuff like that. But the CGI wolf kind of takes away from it. But let me tell you what they did right. The atmosphere. This movie is creepy. Like, just imagine being stuck out below 10 degrees and all you hear is like sticks cracking from things just walking around you. And just how the subtleness, how the wolves test them over and over again. And just like, it's really gory at some points. Like, I'm not going to give it away, but the atmosphere is really good. I mean, it's not as good as like the Blair Witch Project in the theaters, but it's really, really good. And it kind of saddens me. I'm going to kind of get into some spoilers now. We're going to go ahead and talk about the ending of the movie. Well, the ending of the movie is one of those things that I kind of like happens in theater. I love when a movie does not hold my hand. I do. It makes me think about it on the ride home. It makes me think about it the next day. I might be thinking about it next week, and to the point where like I might have to see this movie again, just to try to see if I catch something I didn't catch before. And this movie has that kind of ending. Even though the other people that are in the theater with me didn't really like this ending, and a lot of people probably won't, because it's really open-ended. It doesn't give you any answers. But I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking about it. The movie just shows, the ending of this movie just shows how much a man will give up and how much he has to keep pushing on until he actually finds serenity. At the end of the movie, you can see Liam Neeson goes from being a suicidal, bodyguard of a bunch of oil whalers in Alaska to the lone survivor that's doomed but finds, peace in his heart because he realizes that this is where he belongs, this is where he should be, just like he says at the beginning of the movie. And he now has a purpose. It doesn't let you know if he dies or not, and I like that. I do. It's a really good scene, and Liam Neeson pulls it off perfectly. And I'm going to go ahead and talk a little about Liam Neeson right now since I'm going on a rant. He is quickly becoming one of my favorite actors. I want to compare him to Charles Bronson. Charles Bronson didn't really take off. Well, he had a bunch of good movies. He had like The Great Escape and things like that. But he didn't really take off and become memorable until up in his 70s. Liam Neeson's like 60, and he's redefined his character. He's like this badass. Like everybody remembers his character from Taken. Taken is one of the best movies that came out recently. And The Grey is probably one of the best movies that'll come out this year. A lot of people will hate it. It's going to flop at the box office. A lot of people are going to disagree with me on this review, but think back and realize that people that disagree that The Grey is a good movie are the people that obviously pack the summer blockbusters with, Michael Bay explosions. And you're wondering why nobody wants to go out there and risk it. Movies like The Grey, they threw it out there. They risked it. They put a genuinely good story on the film, and they showed everything that needs to do, and it is a beautiful film with beautiful characters and beautiful settings. I'm going to give this movie a 3.5 stars. Well, 3 9/10 of a star. It's almost a 4-star movie. It's by no means, the greatest movie you'll want to save for Hollywood film vaults, but it is one of the better movies I've seen in the last 10 years. And if you want to, I'd go ahead and give it a shot. If you'd like to see it in theaters, I would go for it because the atmosphere in theaters gives it a little bit of an edge. It's a really good film, and I think you guys really will enjoy it. So go see The Grey. That's my final answer. It's been your boy Wings of Redemption, and I'm